We're going to evict. We're going to evict crazy Kamala. Do you ever hear of Kamala? Radical left. Radical left.
It is quite incredible to see Donald Trump run with a lie.
I don't stand for the LGBTQ community, and I believe, Kamala Harris paying for prisoners to get sex changes, change their bodies the way God made them, is not Christian. And I believe in God solely for that. I'm voting Republican. Doesn't matter if it was Donald Trump or anybody else.
Can I show you something? Since you just said that, I'm going to show you something, and you tell me what you think.
Have you seen this ad? Donald Trump is spending millions attacking Kamala Harris on a desperate lie. Taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens is a Trump administration policy. He's attacking Kamala Harris for his own record, and he thinks you're too dumb to get it.
It is a Trump policy. She's saying that she supports the law, but you don't believe that?
No, I do not.
Yeah.
I've never seen Trump standing up on national TV supporting it or talking about this. He was issuing them to be able to do it. She was the one that gave them the permission and made it happen possible for them to be able to get this transitional surgeries. Go Trump and Vance.
I know.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And then see his supporters get fact-checked in real time. Upon doing so, they run.
Okay, well, that's
So, look, there's all of it. Those are the stories. It's a Trump policy.
Yeah, but like I said, but there's also the fact how
But how do you feel about that? Because you've been led to believe that it was a Harris policy.
Well,
it's a Trump policy.
yeah, but I also believe that they both do it to each other.
You said that you didn't know what to believe, and I showed you the evidence. You can believe stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess I can, but there's so much other stuff though too.
I'm just going to call it. There's no way this man is an undecided voter after hearing his responses. No shot.
Because the only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that. It's the only way we're going to lose this election. So we have to be very careful.
Quick question. Aren't y'all tired of this dude? Aren't y'all exhausted? For a glimpse into his world of supporters, watch the goalposts move in real time via Lemon again.
Are you going to vote?
I am.
You are?
I am.
You didn't vote already?
No, not yet.
You're in a true swing state. Which way is it going to go?
It's going to have to go with Donald J. Trump.
Which is red.
That's right.
Why do you say that?
Let me think on it. Just propaganda mainly.
What do you mean?
Just all of the propaganda has me leaning towards Trump.
I know, but what do you mean? What propaganda?
Everything external to me, all my sources of information, nothing being original.
I don't know, but I need examples of where you're talking about.
Let's see. Man, it's really tough. It might be easier to come up with reasons why I wouldn't vote for Kamala.
Kamala.
Come again?
Kamala.
Kamala.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she's necessarily trustworthy. I think democracy is really important. I don't think that she is where she is now via democratic processes.
You're saying because of the democratic process.
I was joking on the propaganda, but yeah, the democratic process is important. Like, Kamala was not voted for.
Kamala.
Okay.
I would say the Republican Party chose their candidate, and that's the candidate
That's
they
the
chose.
thing.
So let's see what happens.
Are we for oligarchy or are we for democracy?
Well, we're for democracy, and people on the left would say the same thing about Donald Trump, that he's not for democracy because he says he wants to be a dictator on the first day.
Yes, and I want to be.
He tried to overthrow the election, and he begged for votes, which was illegal. And he has been indicted on 34 criminal counts, and he's been found liable for raping a woman. So is that democratic?
It's been alleged, right?
No, he's found liable.
Found guilty.
Yes.
Right. He was found guilty, but I mean, is everyone that's found guilty actually guilty? Isn't that a thing?
The smirk really says it all here, doesn't it?
You don't go in depth with the serious stuff and actually learn about this stuff, and you opine about it, which it's your well, but you're not reading it very well. Because
I'm just reading what the paragraph says. Here's CNBC. Trust fund reserves used to pay beneficiaries are projected to become insolvent by 2035.
Well, what does that mean?
Only that what comes in is able to go out.
Okay, and so what's the cuts on that?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, what comes in, what goes out. So, like, all right,
Have to increase taxes or increase the worker load.
right? Not the worker load, but the
amount of
trust,
workers.
What when the trust fund runs out? How much is what will payments be?
I don't know.
Okay, that's a pretty important aspect of this, right? I mean, this is the incuriosity that you have about
What's
the
incurious
basic.
about it?
You're not interested in what that means? I think you need to, like, on some of these bigger issues, you've clearly gone very deep into the Civil War thing, which we both agree has a very low chance of happening, somewhere above zero.
We don't really talk about Social Security all that often. I think like 3 or 4 times.
It's the most important function of our government.
As Sam Cedar wipes the floor with Tim Pool, keep that name in mind.
First time voter?
For president, yeah.
For president. And how you feeling?
I'm going to be voting for Trump.
How you feel though?
I'm feeling good.
What are your reasons? What are your policies? What are your issues?
Economy and just, probably for me, economy and the immigration crisis.
Immigration. What would you like to see? Why economy?
I just think that Trump has more ground in economy, which gives him the most experience in that, and it would improve his, I don't know, just like...
Where do you get your information? Where do you get news?
I try to stay away from mainstream media, more so like reading articles online and listening to podcasts, stuff like that.
Like what podcast?
I watch a lot of Rogan, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, more conservative guys.
I'm shocked.
At some point, the jokes just write themselves here.
I want to talk about 2020 because you said over and over that you were robbed in 2020.
Yeah, totally.
How do you think you were robbed? Everybody always cuts you off. I'm going to
They
allow...
do. Well, they not only cut you off. Well, what I'd rather do is we'll do it another time, and I would bring in papers that you would not believe. So many different papers. That election was so crooked. It was the most crooked election.
Okay, but give me some examples of how.
Well, let's start
Okay.
on the top and the easy ones.
Okay.
They were supposed to get legislative approval to do the things they did, and they didn't get it. In many cases, they didn't get it.
What things?
Anything. When
Legislative approval
like
of...
for extensions of the voting, for voting earlier, for this,
Right.
for all different things. By law, they had to get legislative approvals. You don't have to go any further than that. If you take a look at Wisconsin, they virtually admitted that the election was rigged, robbed, and stolen. They wouldn't give access in certain areas to the ballots because the ballots weren't signed. They weren't originals. We could go into this stuff. We could go into the ballots, or we could go into the overall. I'll give you another one.
Are you going to present this ever?
I won by I lost by I didn't lose, but they say I lost, Joe.
And again, keep this in mind, specifically the interviewer, because what happens next on Don Lemon's social channels is really, really important.
They adopted bro culture. The things I was into 10 years ago, the same people I used to follow online. I used to be a big Joe Rogan fan. Who else is there? Bradley Martin. And they adopted bro culture. People who don't even know they're taking in right-wing ideology.
Well, I have had to talk to a lot of people who don't know, and they say that's where they get their information from. And Donald Trump has actually been able to activate and energize that demographic in the electorate, which could put him over the top. And so you don't listen to them anymore.
There was a couple of Joe Rogan interviews that threw me off a little bit a couple of years ago. And then you looked up the names and who these people are, and you're like, well, this guy's an obvious white supremacist or a race scientist. And you're like, how did we get here? It's so confusing.
This is eye-opening to me. A voter being open and honest about what we all know as leftists to be true. That right-wing media, using his examples of Joe Rogan and Bradley Martin, just to name very, very few, feed into the right-wing pipeline and groom their listeners. Big shout out goes to Don Lemon, who has gone independent. His show is fantastic, so please check him out on YouTube. Head over to Twitter for more updates, with his handle being his name, Don Lemon. More short form on TikTok, of course. Instagram as well, where he's nearing 1 million followers, and his Facebook page. Kudos to you. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.